Okay, this is stage 2 of painting, of how to paint a church. I'm going to look at the windows now, and I'm going to use raw sienna for that. Painting the window surrounds, quite a simple process. We can only see a certain amount of these window surrounds. That's actually the belfry. We can see that. We can see a little of that side, not a great deal because it's slightly recessed. We can certainly see the bottom. These are the surrounds of the windows. The centre sections, we'll put in the rest of the windows shortly, the darker areas, but this is just the surround. Quite an easy process yet again, nothing too fussy. Pick up the shape of the window later on. It's got to be a loose thing. When you paint these sorts of things, it has to be loose and fresh. It really does make all the difference if you're going to get a loose and fresh application of colour. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfectly drawn or painted in. It's the freshness of the way you paint it on. That's the key. So that's that. There are some little touches within the stonework. This is quite a light area. We do have the edging there that's quite sort of yellowy, I suppose. We do have a little bit here, a little bit there, just the surround of the doorway. Okay, so that's a good start. Next comes the stones themselves, gravestones. Sort of like a grey, greeny grey, possibly. Yellowy, greeny grey. Some are lighter than others. We're going to have one darker one here. I like to show the tops unpainted and the sides so you get the thickness of the stones. One there. Let's just try a small one there. We'll leave some white for future reference. A couple of dark ones here. They will be shadowed anyway at a later date. You can even put in suggestions of one or two that you've not put in before, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter. Put another couple in there, that one. Oh, and we do have the door frame, forgot about that. There's a door here which we can see, so we'll put in the outside of that. There we go. So that's basically some of the gravestones put in and the window surrounds. Now I'm going to paint the windows. Ultramarine burnt sienna. Nice dark brown, sort of, yeah, bluey brown really, more of a grey I suppose, bluey grey. And we have just a touch there. We do have in the belfry obviously louvered, so we'd need the louvered sort of feel to that, just as a basic start for the window. Now we have the dark glazing for these lovely old, suppose aged, quite aged windows. Love painting church windows. Gives me the opportunity to, it's a bit of a license when you actually suggest the windows themselves. Always nice to have a little bit of suggestion of the window. Don't want to paint every single part of the window in. We're not looking to be detailed. Once we get a detailed area, then the rest of the picture needs to be detailed, and that is, to me, takes away from the actual fun and the watercolour effect. You know, if you like the picture, just frame it. But if you want to create a painting of that scene, then that's a different thing altogether. Nice brown door, give a bit of interest there. There is some touches of red, touches of brickwork here and there, which I'm going to depict as sort of like a suggestion of an arced piece of brickwork there, one or two little touches of red. Nice to have, if you can see it in stonework, where there's been additions to certain areas. Try and put it in. Don't be afraid to add a bit of colour in places. Good, so that's the windows painted in. Next I'm going to attend to the sheep. Now these are raw sienna, very weak to start with. I normally paint sheep this way, very weak raw sienna down to the legs, particularly that one there, and the face. Be surprised how easy they are to paint in the end. They seem difficult, but okay, that's nice and damp. Let's just lift off a bit of colour there so it doesn't get too wet. So leave the white at the top. Then on the undersides they go sort of very dark brown where the shadow is. So under the belly there, down the leg to a certain extent, under the belly there, and this one doesn't have a great deal, but just underneath there and the leg, down the side of the face. There you go. And then more blue for the very dark sort of legs, and some of them do have dark sort of faces, which the front legs, the hind legs, quite easy to paint in. This one has a dark face and ears, which you can just suggest, and to me that's about all you need to do for sheep. Honestly, it really is a simple process to paint sheep. Now I'm going to, just before I do any more, I'm just going to add a little bit of, there is one or two darker stones of varying shades, and I'm just going to sort of suggest that. So just so as we don't get a completely clean building, it really is just a suggestion of some darker stones, a little bit of brown here and there within the stonework. You know, just a suggestion. It's all we need. Nothing too fancy. And there is just an edge there where that it slightly stands out. There's the top of the tower, and there is at the top a cross. We'll put that in, and we'll shade that just to show that very shortly. Okay, so that's that. So that's stage 2 really of the painting of this lovely old church, and it could be any church really. No reasons to think that any other church will need to be painted much differently from this. All very much the same. Going to just paint those buttresses very light, leaving the tops white paper. So where you've got the slope of the buttress, where it comes down, I'm painting the stonework. They will stand away. At the moment they look put into the brickwork, or stonework, but of course later on they will stand away when I come to put in shadow work. So that's the second stage, quite simple, and we'll move on to the third stage.